She has multiple books. And today we're lucky. We're lucky to have Kim on our show. And we can't wait to dive in. Ike, any comments?
I am actually super excited because, I am now talking to my coach's coach. Finally, I'm not gonna get the watered down version of real coaching. I'm gonna get the. I'm super excited to listen to you, Kim.
Kim, how did you start off? How did you get into this world? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
How did I get into coaching or human behavior or
Well, yeah, as the expert on human behavior, and then a lot of humans around us mucking up work,
I
business would
know.
be easy. Yeah.
Well, life would be easy. Life would be
Yes.
easy except for that I always say life is a classroom and we're here to learn and people are really the classroom. It would be easy
Mhm.
if it wasn't for all the dynamics with each other. And I think it was years and years of struggles in my own life and relationships that got me so interested in understanding people and what makes us tick, what makes us behave the way we do and perform the way we do, and how to improve that. I don't know if you even knew when I first started coaching, I was a sales coach. I was Og Mandino greatest salesman in the world coach.
Oh
Wow.
my,
Yeah, I was
really?
coaching salespeople, and a lot of the same techniques that I was teaching to help people in sales and interactions with others and handling conflicts and issues in sales ended up transferring over to just every part of their life. And as you guys know, we may get in to coach someone in a business setting, but their personal life and all their relationships quickly become part of the equation to get balance and have their life going well and feel good about themselves and their life.
Real fast. In this journey, you've had enough individuals, couples, partners, business executives, and whatever. And we have a lot of um, 20, 30, 40, 50-year olds who are starting their business for the first time. They may have already had a level of sufficient success. But they're always under the gun. They got a lot of pressure on them, and the need to perform is huge. With all of that said, because there's so much to cover, can you think of two things, just two things you'd advise? What have you learned that you would recommend that these mostly men, some ladies,
Yeah.
consider in this professional conduct because it's stressful?
Well, and it's funny because most of my work has been around fear. And most of the time when I start working with the CEO, they tell me I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. But if you're stressed and you're experiencing anxiety at all on any level, that's fear. I hate to tell you. Fear is the biggest problem that's holding us back at home and work and causing issues in relationships. It almost always comes down to our fears. So I spend a lot of time with clients right off the bat identifying what their core fear is, what they get triggered by, what throws them out of balance. And those are the things that are slowing you down. They're the things that are causing conflict in relationships. And it's so simple. Once you kind of know what fear is in play for you, you're smiling because you teach this because it's what I taught you. But it's the key. And it's really so simple. Now, it's not always easy because a lot of these fears are really ingrained in us. The two fears that show up for all of us are a fear of failure and a fear of loss. And you've been dealing with these your whole life, and they are terrifying. The idea of failing, especially when you have a lot of responsibility, you're the founder of a business, you've got a lot of people depending on you and your family and money, and failure becomes more and more terrifying, right? So the amount of anxiety and fear in play can be pretty big.
What have you learned about how, even at home, first time founders, what could they do? How could they manage that portion in order to even advance and be wholly balanced and functional at work?
Well, we're talking about basically improving that relationship at home, right? So that
Yeah.
we've got some peace knowing things are good there. And you want to improve any relationship with another human being. The first step is understanding them, understanding what's actually going on with them, and the conflicts that we have with other humans are always at their core based in differences. I've spent most of the last 30 years studying the science of axiology, which is the science of how humans value everything in our world, and our differences in how we value things and the differences in our fears are the core causes of all of the conflict. So I want to have you get to know your partner at a different level where you understand their core values and what's driving most of their behaviors and what also triggers them, what their core needs are. And these things can be super easy and fast to identify in each other. And then I'm going to teach you how to work things out when these differences create conflict so that you know how to listen and understand them and make them feel validated and heard so things don't blow up. And teaching those basic relationship skills is such a game changer and it changes things so fast. And I don't know how much you want to let me get into the 12 shapes, but it's
Go,
the
go, go, go.
easiest
Go for it. Yeah, I
way I
go.
have found to just understand another person because immediately you know what their core value system is and what yours is and what the differences are going to be. So, for example, I have a CEO that I've been working with who's a rhombus, who's married to a diamond. And one of the key differences is diamonds overvalue organization and having everything exactly where they want it to be and how they want it to be and clean. And they need things this way. And it matters so much that they have a schedule and a plan and their life is organized. And he is just focused on winning and surviving and being successful at work. And those things are way undervalued, along with connection with his spouse becomes undervalued. And as soon as we recognize those differences in value, it's a totally different conversation with between the two of them now. Because she can say, I know this is a diamond thing. I know I'm not criticizing you, but I just need your clothes put away. I know it matters to me more than it matters to you, and I get that. And it's not her picking at him or nagging at him anymore because she can own that this is an overvaluing for her. And he can say, I know I undervalue that, and that's an issue with me, but I know it's important to you. We can honor and allow each other to have these differences and be different from each other at a different level when we understand what they are. And what I find if we don't is we're just always bothered that people aren't like us. We tend to think the way we're wired, the way we value things, the way we function in the world is the right way. What's wrong with them that they're doing it wrong? And as long as that's kind of the energy in the relationship, is where we're irritated about all those things the person doesn't value that we value or doesn't do the way we do, we're just going to have conflict all the time. So, looking for a quick fix, have everybody take the shapes quiz, 12shapes.com. Find out your shapes so that you get each other's value system difference. I mean, Benoy, it's been super fun to watch you and your wife discover these differences.
How do you apply this to these shapes to maybe company dynamics that our first time founders might find it useful?
Yeah. So I have many companies, they won't hire, they won't promote or move people around till they know their shapes, and they're keeping this in mind, because the balance on the team is important, but also you can have a team that has so many of this type of person and you bring in the wrong type of person and it's going to upset the balance. And so it's just so critical to understand them. But where you were going, Ike, that I really want to go is, we as human beings really are programmed for judgment. And so we see any two people and we're looking at better or worse, who's right or who's wrong. We're so quick to go to judgment. And what we lose is that there is a place for everybody and they bring something different that others don't bring. And we need them all. We really do need them all. But the most important, or I say that the key foundational principle, is that all of us have the same value. And just because you're different and you value different things than another person doesn't make you better, but you might be better for a certain role. But we can't get I'm going to talk down to you because you don't value what I value, or you do things different than I do. And this is especially important at home, because we easily talk down to people we think are wrong at home. Sometimes at work, we're a little more on guard about it, but sometimes not. I've had CEOs that have had a real problem in their business because they talk down to everybody and make everybody feel less than. And the turnover has been unbelievable. And there's been a huge cost in that business because of not being able to see the value of differences, both at home and work. I've got a CEO right now, and the CEO is a rhombus, Benoy, so he's hard driving and just competitive, but not as empathetic. And his CFO is a heart. So there is dramatically different as we could get. This heart is all about people and connection and caring and visiting and listening and having empathy. And Rhombus doesn't have any of that. Doesn't spend any time there. But he's been able to learn that there's some real benefits of having somebody that's a balance to him, because he doesn't show up on the empathy scale at all. And there's some times the employees need someone who actually has it in it to him to listen, and it's not going to be him. So now that he understands the superpower they each bring, he's been able to harness them in a different way and really appreciate the strengths that the heart brings, instead of being irritated all the time that he spends so much time talking. We actually need some people who are good at talking to others.
Kim, in the sequence of talking to all of these men versus ladies, I'm going to bring it up. What do you see the difference in their natural leadership capabilities and styles? Because we got a mostly male dominant tech founder audience. We have some female, but not a lot. What do you see as a difference when you have a leader who's female versus male?
It depends on what shape they are, Benoy, because that drives their behavior more than whether they're male or female. I mean, I've got some hard driving female CEOs, and they're squares, they're octagons often. We don't get as many rhombus females. I think a lot of the CEOs that we probably get are lean towards being rhombuses because they're so driven to be at the top. They're so driven to be at the top, but they severely undervalue connection and relationships, and they usually struggle in that area. Where some of these other shapes with women leaders, they still struggle with it though. My female CEOs are still struggling to make the time with the families, to have work-life balance. On some level, they drive even harder because as a woman, they feel like they have even more to prove, and they got to work even harder to get the same respect. And So they still struggle with the same issues with balance that I think a lot of the men do.
Any last comments, including what you do? Because I think it's fabulous that you're in Mexico right now. What do you recommend people do now that we're at this stage and age to come on? Let's just build a great business, but do it in a certain way. What advice would you give?
Yeah, I don't know, Benoy, if it's as we're getting older, we're getting wiser that the time is going by. The time is it's going by faster, don't you think? The older you get, it's
Mhm.
and I wish I'd realized that younger that it's going to fly. Um, so what you do with your life matters more than just the money that you make and the accolades and the success. You want to form relationships with other human beings that are going to matter to you, because in the end nobody thinks that they wish they'd worked harder. I see also the more leisure time and the more time I have connecting with the people that are important to me, I actually have more creative energy, so I work smarter. And I don't think you discover that until you start doing it. But actually, coming back from that week in Costa Rica, I bet you come back and you actually work smarter and better. I know I work
Always.
better in Mexico than at home, for sure.
Oh,
But having that
always.
balance,
That's
yeah.
wise counsel, because right now, as a young founder, the last thing I'm going to do is take time off. The last thing I'm going to do is take vacation with the family. Don't they know it's more important that I put bread on the table? The last thing I'm going to do is take care of myself and actually sleep a full 8.5 hours, 9 hours. Ike is going to smile on that one. What? Right? The last thing we're going to do is slow down long enough just to kind of chill. That's that's not how we do it. That's not how they depict it in the movies. So we pick up all of these bad habits. You're a champ. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Kim. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Ken.
Right?
Thanks for having
There, yeah, there's so much to talk about, and what you've talked about goes to the nuggets of how fear does overtake us, even if we are balanced in our values. And everyone on this show, please, um, Kimberly Giles, go to 12shapes.com. It's free. Take this test. It'll even give you a personalized report on what shape you are. Do it with your significant other. Do it with your C-level suite. It will change your life. And of the things that we have left in executing and improving, nothing matters more than the people that we're around. And it's the business of humans, as Kim says. With that said, Kim, thank you so much. Thank you, Ike. We're going to call it quits until next week, next time. Everyone, take care. Bye.